Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is Authentic Achievements. We want to give a shout out to all those who are in the military as we come up on Memorial Day on Monday, a weekend of celebration here in the United States. Thanks to all of those who have served and who are serving. We really do appreciate you. I want to welcome the star of our show. Her name is KIM-ADELE Randall, and she's actually the creator of Authentic Achievements. She has her own platform, so I hope you will reach out to her and connect. She's also a TEDx speaker. She's a television and radio show host. She's an author. She's an entrepreneur. She's a mother, and she's so much more. Let's welcome her to the program as she joins us from London. Hello, KIM-ADELE.
Hi, Dr. Jacalyn. Lovely to see you as always. And thank you for such a kind introduction. You always make me feel so amazing.
Well, it's all true. And of course, there's so much more. We're going to be talking about some of it today because our guest is not here, and that's okay because you and I can fill up many hours of conversation. But before we get into what I think we're going to discuss today, let's talk about you and some of the authentic achievements that you've had. You have had quite a backstory that you've shared before, and you've picked yourself up again and again and again. And you shared with me backstage that you started a new regiment to take yourself to another level. Tell us about that.
I have. So I worked out that last Sunday I've got 50 days until I turn 50. And it's not like it was a surprise. I knew I was going to be 50 this year, but all of a sudden there was only 50 days to go. And I was like, I was going to lose weight. I was going to get fit. I was going to work on myself and kind of really continue to develop myself, something that I'm really passionate about, but I'll be honest, I haven't been that passionate about exercise. And so I know that unfortunately it's not one of my key strengths to stick to it. So I enlisted the help of one of my, probably my most favorite person in the world, my little girl, Scarlett, who's 6. And I said, right, Mummy's got a really, really important job for you. Mummy needs you to be her personal trainer. So for the next 50 days, no matter what I say to you about, I'm too tired, I can't do it, I'm fed up, whatever it is, you have to say, no, Mummy, you promised. And you have to make me get up and you have to make me exercise. And she's like, yes, Mummy, I can do that. So I was like, and whatever I say, even if I promise you the earth to not make me do it, you have to say, no, Mummy, you've got to do the exercise. So we're now on day 6. And she's had me getting up at 6:30. I've had to do 100 sit-ups, 50 push-ups, 50 star jumps, a 10-minute high-intensity all-body workout that we found on YouTube, half an hour on my exercise machine, a cold shower, and then first drink of the day is water that's got fresh lemon, ginger, and cayenne pepper in it because it's supposed to really boost your metabolism. And if I try not to do it, she tells me off. She stands there with little hands on her hips. And as I was sharing with you, Dr. Jacalyn, before we came on, she's not going to be here the next 2 days because she said her dad is. So she gave me my instructions, which were, 1, I had to pinky promise because you never break a pinky promise. And 2, I had to put my hands on my hips and glare at myself if I felt the need to not continue with the exercise and channel her face because that would get me going. But I just love that she takes her role so seriously and that she's got such character and such passion to do what you're asking her to do. And I think that for me is always a joy to see.
I love what you shared there. That it just touches my heart in so many ways. And it also touches on a number of other topics. We have great intentions, we have plans, we have dreams, and we start down that path and something happens. We get distracted, we get derailed, and we start telling ourselves it's okay. So I love what Scarlett is. She's keeping you on point. In your experience with everything that you've been through in your journey, when you've had adversity and you just did not feel like getting up, I'm not getting up at 6:30, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. How long do you allow yourself to stay in that kind of zone?
So I try and move out of it really fast. And for me, the easiest way of doing that is to focus on something I do want. So in those moments of overwhelm, when it's just too much, you kind of look at it and go, how do I do this? I've shared before on the platform, when my marriage broke down and I was facing surgery and it all just felt too much. I focused on the fact that Scarlett needed me. So she was at the time, just about one, and needed me to do pretty much everything for her, to feed her, to look after her, to love her. And so I looked at it and went, right, okay, you can't deal with your own stuff at the moment. So focus on hers, focus on being the best mum that you can be, focus on the activity that you can do. And I guess that's what I've done throughout all of the ups and downs, throughout the illnesses, throughout the divorces, throughout the stuck, or any of the challenges that life's thrown me. I've kind of always looked at it and gone, what can I do? What thing can I focus on to distract my mind? And I guess I use that as the kind of like lifeboat to cling to in the messy storm of my brain, which is I can't deal with all of the rest of you. So I'm just going to focus on this thing that I can do and hope that eventually I'll find the strength to be able to do what it is that we need them to do to get over it. And in doing that, in focusing on kind of the things you can do, one, you regain some of that confidence, and two, you're creating purpose, you're distracting your brain, and before you know it, you've overcome whatever it was that you needed to overcome, even if you didn't realize it, that you were taking action towards achieving that goal.
Great points as always. And I think another aspect is your why. Why is it that you're doing what you're doing? I know for me, just on the topic of fitness, because fitness is a very important part of my life. I am now going to a gym because I'm in New Jersey. I'm not going to the class I was going to in Florida. And there's a lot of very young people who are fit and toned, and it comes in the 60-year-old lady. And I'm always doing these crazy things. And I don't care what anyone else is doing. I have my why. And if I look ridiculous jumping upside down, doing this TRX, it doesn't matter to me because I know I have a purpose of doing what it is, why I'm doing it.
That's such a great point. I think once we've got a why, it allows us to overcome pretty much any obstacle that comes in. Because one of the things that I tell myself, and I'll be honest, I tell clients this as well, is the next time you find yourself doubting, the next time you go, oh, I'm not, but maybe I can't do it. Try saying to yourself, it's not important to me, and see how it feels. It's the fastest thing to make me move. Whenever if I say, I want to exercise, I don't want to exercise. I go, it's not important to me to exercise. Well, it is, because I want to exercise because I want to be as healthy as I possibly can, to be around for as long as I can, to be a good mum for Scarlett. So it is really important to me. So when I try telling myself it's not, or derailing myself, that is a great way of kind of pulling me back to the moment, which is, no, it is important. Changing that sentence just gets us into that different part of our brain, which makes us realize what we're really detracting ourselves from.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that, KIM-ADELE. And we have some great news, very exciting, that our guest is backstage, right? That's super exciting because I know he was joining us another time. And he is a global career coach. I believe he's joining us from Africa. We're going to find out where in the world he is actually. His name is George ADONGO Ochieng. I hope I said that right. George, come on out. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Nice to see you. Where are you joining us from?
Nairobi, Kenya.
In Kenya. We have a dear friend and team member who's also in
Yes.
Kenya, Janetta Barry. I'll have to introduce the two of you.
Wow, that's great. And we're glad to know the other team member.
Fantastic. We're having a little difficulty hearing you. Can you hear him, KIM-ADELE?
No, not really.
Maybe just turn up the volume. That would be great. KIM-ADELE, have you been to Kenya?
No, I haven't. I would love to go. It's one of the places that there's so many places that I would love to go that I've not got to go to yet, but Kenya's definitely one of them. It looks such an amazing place to visit.
Janetta Barry, who's from Africa originally, but she was in the UK for a while. She does a show called Global Adventures, and she's featured a number of places in Africa. Truly beautiful. George, we'd love to converse with you. You're on mute right now. I'm going to put George. I think he's frozen. I'm going to put him backstage until I see the microphone coming off. So, George, just turn on your microphone. That would be great. So, KIM-ADELE, I think what's also interesting, we talk about being a coach, and George is a global career coach. People are making all types of changes to their careers as a result, possibly, of the pandemic. I know I've made a switch. Many people have made switches. So what are you finding in the work that you're doing, your Authentic Achievements platform, as well as your businesses as an entrepreneur working with corporate clients as well as others?
I guess one of the things I'm finding at the moment is that people are struggling to work out where to focus. So when we go into, and as you know, I've done transformational change for about 15 years now. And one of the challenges with transformational change when you go into an organization is getting really clear on what bits need to change and what bits don't need to change. And then back to your earlier comment, Dr. Jacalyn, creating the why. When we want to do transformational change, we need our people to go with us on the journey. So they need to know why we're doing it, why it's important, why they should make that change. And a lot of that can be the thing that holds people back. You know, I was talking to a client earlier this week and they thought their issue was over here. But as we got talking and I asked them a few questions about, you know, what they'd got so far for their strategy, what did their plan look like, what was their focus, what was their technology, they're like, oh, no, actually, we managed to do all of that as well. And I was like, that's fine. It doesn't need to be daunting, but actually it's all about making sure you've got the right steps in place. And I end up coaching a lot of coaches because my coaching is really about building a business to be able to scale it and take it to the next level, whatever that next level is, whether it's breaking through your first million or whether it's taking your 100 million business and making a 200 million business. It's what steps do you need to take to ensure that you're on that growth journey. And a lot of that is down to the detail. You know, unfortunately, that is the challenge. The devil is always in the detail. And having somebody who knows what questions to ask and can also show you how to get there is why coaching is the second fastest growing industry globally, or the knowledge industry is. Because yes, we can get the knowledge, we could all go and sit and watch hundreds of YouTube videos or read hundreds of books, but actually we haven't got the time to do that. You know, it's so fast paced these days. So the reason why people work with coaches around the world is to say, can you distill the biggest lessons that you've learned in your last X journey to help me get over this problem, to help me to get there faster so that I can achieve the goal I want to achieve without having to derail myself to go and learn all this stuff that maybe I don't want to learn. I just want to know what action I need to take.
Absolutely brilliant. I agree with you. And I'm really excited that George is back with us.
Hey.
Let's bring him out. Hi, George.
Hi.
Yay, we can hear you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, George, just for people who were not able to hear, tell us again where you're joining us from, please.
I'm joining you from Nairobi, Kenya.
Fantastic. Well, it's nice to have you with us. And you are a global career coach. Tell us what that means to you and who you help.
It has been an amazing journey, walking through this as part of my career progression since early 2000. And so just to get to the point before I talk about, explore the story behind this progression, I work with the young people, which started all the way from junior primary. This went on to senior high school and universities. And so practically what I've been doing is to help these young people understand their global career readiness in terms of reorganizing and realigning their course in terms of how to connect with what they're learning within different spheres, but then also being able to look at this into the bigger picture of the global community. So the question here is like, I've been committed to seeking to explore some of these hindrances that make young people. But in the process, there's been an amazing journey because by working with young people over time, that I saw a number of them graduate from dismal performance to becoming some of the best in their industries. Like, for example, one of my former mentees ended up being one of the best performers in the grade 8 exams in Kenya in the year 2005. And later on, after a few years, he managed to become one of the senior journalists today in one of the leading media stations. And so what I look practically is to how to provide those kind of linkages and clarity, not only to the young people or even to the youth, because as I worked with these young people over time, I was able to connect with the parents. I've also been able to connect with the guardians. I've also been able to connect with the trainers or teachers or tutors from different institutions. But this has also morphed into now a global platform where I've been able now to link different people that are also seeking this particular service in terms of keynote speaking in different communities. One of the most outstanding one for me was a few years ago when Trinity Broadcasting Network was interviewing community leaders, and through a competitive process, my university proposed me, and it was amazing just being able to also explore what is going on within the global space. Thank
Congratulations, George. Yes, that's outstanding. Congratulations. When you say young people, what age groups are you speaking of?
Well, as I would say, I started with young people, particularly in early primary school. My focus was those that are between the age bracket of called early teenage, at 13-year-old. In Kenya, most of those ones are in grade 8. And so I would be coaching them, working with a team of tutors also to help them with the academic clarity.
Fantastic. And I'd love to know, KIM-ADELE, as a mother, what are your thoughts about this work that George is doing?
I love it. I think, I am part of our local trust at the school, and one of the things that we talk about is what we can do to prepare our children for actual life. We do a lot of the stuff around academically, can we teach them to read, write, and things like that, but how do we teach them to live? They are going to have to go out there, they're going to have to get jobs, they're going to have to work out what they want to do in their career, and kind of turn that into some real practical advice. And I love the fact that having a coach so young hopefully will get people over that stigma that there used to be around having a coach. I mean, certainly when I started out in my career, you got given a coach if you weren't doing very well. So having a coach was not a good thing. It's not something to be proud of. And now obviously the world's changed, and actually it is seen as a good thing. It's seen as something where you're investing in yourself. But I think teaching children that so young and giving them that opportunity to kind of learn and explore and find their voice is invaluable.
Amazing, amazing.
And I also want to just say we do have some friends watching from Africa also, Push Child Foundation, Uganda. Nice to have you with us. George, for people who are not well educated about Africa and about some of the challenges, there's different, I don't know if you call them regions or states in Africa, where people have a lot more opportunity and a lot more challenges depending on where you are. What is the status there in Kenya?
Challenges are there for us, Dr. Jacalyn. one of the biggest challenge right now is actually the ability to correspond to the changing dynamics of a new curriculum. We have an old curriculum that has been existing for some time since 1988, and then there is now a new curriculum that is more of kind of practical based, helping learners to connect now with not only what is called learning readiness in class, but also going beyond to include extracurricular activities. But the biggest challenge facing communities right now within Kenya, particularly, although it is widespread within the continent of Africa, is the inability to also connect with community leaders who likewise is also going through different transitions within the political class. Right now, from the time of the pandemic, many people are struggling to eke a living. And this is making it extremely challenging for people to sponsor kids to go to school, let alone being able to provide for them even back at home. And so you find that a lot of young people go to school, or even parents or different community leaders who are supporting matters education or generally psychosocial support, finding it extremely challenging to connect. And so in the process, most of these young people end up becoming juvenile delinquents, or rather, I would say they become almost get into criminality or criminalism. And as it is right now, particularly most of the informal settlements, you get a lot of young people that are into criminal activities, and the Kenya police and many others within the continent are trying level best to see how to empower the communities, to also see how these young people can participate in agenda setting.
Thank you for sharing that. I've been made aware of the fact that in some cases that children have to be driven an hour and a half, 2 hours just to get to school. And in some cases, children don't have clean water. I mean, there's so many different scenarios that I think people are just not even aware of. And to have someone like yourself who's really helping, I would say, give hope and inspiration that there is something else that's out there. What are your thoughts?
The thought for me, Dr. Jacalyn, is to really practically engage in that kind of community engagement, to practically see how these young people and their parents or community leaders can participate, not only putting the entire burden on the government, because what we know right now is that public-private partnership is the in thing, and of course also the cornerstone of SDG 17 that it talks about partnership. And so it is about different people providing different services and coming together to see how this becomes a reality. For example, lots of communities have undertaken opportunities of integrating these young people into schools. Some of them are private schools, but then the government also has been very proactive in making this work. It is true that a lot of young people walk to school, and as you might have been reading in the media, we have had a lot of young people also getting kidnapped, children getting kidnapped for that matter, and that even, really make the matter even more complex, because when you look at the security scenario of these young people going to school and getting into the hands of criminals, it even makes the society even more fearsome, and the communities are wondering, what do you do so that, as we are told in Africa, a better job, a better education, and then more opportunities. But then this is becoming more challenging.
Thank you, George. Just another question before I go over to KIM-ADELE. My question is, I recently attended a class that were for students in Africa because I'm going to be teaching online for a certain school. And what I heard really surprised me. And the professor was saying to these students that you've been brought up to believe that you can't achieve and be anything, that you'll never be able to have your own business. And the students were writing in that, yes, that's what they've been told, that they'll never be able to earn any money or to have anything on their own. And I just felt heartsick about that. Is that something that is actually true? Or is that just this one particular instance?
Dr. Jacalyn, as a part of my own story, when growing up, we we grow up almost like lacking this sense of originality, because there are very limited options in terms of career coaching or career counseling. And so we are meant to believe that you must only score a particular grade point for you to measure up to something. But that also has got a lot to do with the financial capability of going to the prestigious schools. And in most cases, these are private institutions, whether they're primary, high school, or universities. And so in terms of social innovation, it becomes extremely difficult to deal with that kind of mindset, because even at the level of university, you realize that still, students are still struggling to cope in terms of the originality, the ability to exercise, the creativity, which borrows a lot from self-esteem, and what I would call also the ability to construct or even to reconstruct ideas. And so yes, as the students were telling you, and I think I read it somewhere that probably should be in Ghana, where you will be teaching with your colleague, is amazing. And I think guys like you got a time to tell us and to just explore this opportunity that we also have a great opportunity. And then again, there's always been this kind of attitude since the time when Africa was colonized, that even when an African has a lot of opportunity and ability, they still don't see themselves as people who can transform people within the global space. So there is a tendency to still look behind and look back. And then, of course, there's also the other concern that the rest of us who are engaging in the national platform is that how do we also empower these communities so that they also, whatever it is that they're doing, we can also project in the international space like we're doing right now in my conversation.
Thank you, George. Kim, I'm going to go over to you. I have more questions, but
I've got so many questions, and I was just thinking for a moment. Yeah, we sometimes forget, particularly like kind of here where I live in the UK, just how lucky we are that we have less things to concern us with. You know, we send our children to school. You've got a little bit of fear of safety, clearly. You know, take them off, but not to the same level, and that must just be a terrifying thing for parents, and a particularly hard thing for communities to be able to kind of get through, to help you to raise that desire in the child for them to go and believe in themselves and to push themselves to be whoever they're supposed to be. How can people listening and watching, how can they help?
The best way we can help, one of the platforms that I've realized, or one of the ways of making this a reality is, of course, engaging in gradual process of making people appreciate who they are. Like one of the cornerstones of my program is to help people explore their unique capabilities, so in terms of skill set, and look at how to utilize them in different areas. I have learned over time that when we work with people in one of the areas of my training, that is international community development, the whole concept right now has got to do with helping community, explore what it is that they have in terms of social capital. But then when we come from the West, say, for example, Europe or America, how do we work with these different partners in terms of what has become the global trend of co-empowerment? That is, both parties working towards encouraging partners to exercise their strength, their skills, and utilize them to explore, the transformation of their communities. But then the other point also is to appreciate that, growth is gradual, and we must also look at how we celebrate the small achievements. I think the world has gone to a point when we look at ourselves, like in Africa, we are not likely to appreciate the fact that I'm able to walk long distances. While it is true that I may need to board, a public transport or a private vehicle, but the fact that I am here and a part of the community, how do I also encourage people, my own kin, to look into something that they can do? And it does not have to be monetary.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm wondering, I know when I started this platform, I had a lot of people saying, oh, who do you think you are? You're never going to make it. This is ridiculous. Go back to corporate. And I have a roof over my head and I have water. So I'm wondering, when people are just trying to survive and there is the hope of education, there is the actual opportunity to have your own business, what about that that permissive negativity from other people saying, oh, you're crazy, that's never going to happen, just go do XYZ? How do young people handle that?
This is one area, Dr. Jacalyn, that informs the program. More of it, of course, has predominantly been a volunteer program. I realized that one of the ways of dealing with this is in terms of a mindset. How do, just making people believe. In most instances, when I had these young people tell me, and even their parents or even the other community leaders, that you will not measure up to anything. In fact, part of what I remembered when I was preparing is my journey to becoming part of the global icons in the international space was actually characterized by a lot of what you're talking about. Who do you think you are? Where do you come from in terms of geography, in terms of gender, in terms of age? And maybe the other thing you probably need to know about Africa, that then the other question of also the patriarchal nature, where we tend to look at certain gender as limited and a certain gender as probably more powerful. So there's a lot of disenfranchisement, but that disenfranchisement also becomes with age. As one of the things I have done over the years, and I still do today with the institutions and the young people and different stakeholders, is to practically let them know their uniqueness in terms of contributing to, community transformation. And then the other thing that I've learned is that as people do a certain thing and apply it several times in terms of behavior change, they become pacesetters of development to their communities. For example, when I started this a few years ago, I was looked down upon. I was told that I do not have a diploma in education. At the time, I just graduated from grade 12. I was told that I was not worth talking where scholars are. But it has taken me many years. Imagine this was the year 2000, and it's almost 2023 that what I'm right now that I'm actually beginning to become a global life figure in terms of education and social information agenda setting.
Wow, congratulations. That's fantastic.
I really admire your dedication to it as well, because I think what it sounds like, and we see this a lot all over the globe, but it sounds like it's heightened in Kenya, is that what we believe is what we become, isn't it? And actually what we believe is also influenced by the people that are around us, by our loved ones, by our family, by our friends, by our community. And it sounds like what you're having to do there is create hope across a community that has been told not to be too hopeful, and been told that that's not. Why would you do that? Why would you be the crazy person dancing over there on your own when you could just be safe over here, sitting down and watching the crazy person? And you're encouraging people to kind of get out there and find their creativity. So what would you say are some of the big, you've talked a number of them, some of the big challenges for the individual that is wanting to trust that hope is the way to go, not fear? How do you help them on that journey?
Helping them to begin appreciating what I would say that little accomplishments in the highway of life. But then, of course, perhaps I should have started by saying that beginning to make people explore the idea of not just achievement, but how to transform society, that is accomplishment. I can't imagine how long it took me to even begin thinking like that, because it was until one time after writing my first master's thesis that one colleague from the US asked me, and I never thought about it like an African, that, George, what are you going to do with your thesis once you graduate? And so I believe that one of the things you need to begin doing immediately is to ask people to see themselves beyond the selfish nature of I am a great man, I'm a great woman. How do I use this greatness to also make somebody great around me? And what I've learned, dear friends, is that making people's lives better actually makes you much better. My growth curve, including knowing this particular program of Dr. Jacalyn, is actually through the friends that I've made over the years. So we must also let people know that life is gradual, career is gradual, and let us also avoid as much as possible what I call negative comparison and false arrivals that I call complacency.
I love that. That's so true. I think we do live in a society now that is a bit despair and compare, isn't it? We see the seemingly perfect lives of other people, and then we look at the messy reality of our own and we find ourselves lacking, but we don't know what's going on in their world, really. We only know what's going on in ours. And I love that you are encouraging people to celebrate the small wins, the making somebody smile, making somebody's day better. It doesn't always have to be, as you so eloquently put, George, it doesn't have to be monetary, it doesn't have to be big. I'll be honest, one of my small wins today, and it was totally made my day, was I was in the shop and I took a moment longer to read the name badge of the person serving me, so that at the end of it, I always say thank you, but for some reason today I decided to use their name and say thank you. He was walking away from me, and at the point he heard his own name, the beam that came up on his face, and he was like, wow, thank you. And I was like, oh, you've made my day, because you were so happy. And it was such a small, easy thing. But if we start to spot those, all of a sudden more of them come into us, don't they? More opportunities to celebrate.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a good analogy. Thanks, Kim. I also wanted to just share, we spoke earlier this week on another program about imposter syndrome, and all of us have experienced this, I would think, at some point or another. But once we acknowledge that it exists, and especially for a young person who might not even be familiar with the term, once we acknowledge it, we can actually deal with it and realize that we are relevant and that we do bring value. And George, what I'm wondering is, have you had an opportunity to explore the imposter syndrome with some of the people with whom you coach, and just to get it out on the table, and let's address it and let's move on?
Right. Imposter syndrome is one of the biggest challenges facing young people right now. You go to social media, everybody's making it big, and we have a language to it here in Africa, particularly in Kenya. And it is that imposter syndrome that make young people get into this kind of matters like criminalism, and or something like, you don't have to be what you are not. You just have to be original. You just have to present one of those key areas in terms of your ability to value proposition. And so I have seen actually lots of what I've seen in terms of the transformative agenda, not only for young people, but even parents. And unfortunately, it's not even the young people alone. It even catches up with the parents. Where do you live? Which car do you drive? How do you dress? And people take loans, and kids would want to show their others that we drive this kind of a car. And why not just celebrate that what you have is already okay? I mean, if you are able to walk on foot, perhaps you might not even need to frequent the gym. So you are just wonderful and powerful. If you are able to drive, that is okay. And if you are not, it does not necessarily mean that there's anything wrong with you. After all, we come, as a colleague says, it is our uniqueness in terms of value proposition. And it is this that has made me see, when people come to the reality of overcoming, this imposter syndrome, that I begin seeing them explore their unique capabilities and then begin contributing to different areas in terms of community development.
Thank you, George. I love the word that you used, original. That is such a nice ring to it. We're each original and bring something to this planet. And speaking of that, I know that you are also an author, that you contributed to a book collaboration. Would you like to share some of that with us? I think you had 28 quotes.
Now, Jacalyn, that takes me to the real area that you started by discussing earlier, because as I kept on posting on LinkedIn several times and connecting with the people, one of the colleagues connected with me and asked me to share my 28 original quotes. That was the most trying moment of my life. Not because I'm used to quoting others, but then here somebody comes, George, we have seen your profile and you wanted to share your 28 original quotes. I did that successfully, and that has actually given me an impetus to also consider writing my own full book, which has been in limbo for quite some time. In fact, I'm already up and running and seeking opportunities of how to get this book published as soon as possible to also add value to community.
I know somebody to introduce you to, Mr. Red O'Laughlin. He can help you get that book published. So we look forward to making connections. Are you able to share any of those quotes with us today?
Well, a number of them, it might take me a bit of a time, but one of the things that I said is that in terms of, career innovation is being in people just looking at how being original. One of the areas that I mentioned strongly is that originality is actually the key to actual creativity. And I found that a very interesting one because it was really deep from my own heart. How do I share? I share all that I have. There could be having grammatical errors, but in the process, I've seen people come to my rescue.
Say that again. Originality is the
is the cornerstone of creativity.
I love that. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. When we're original, when we're coming from our heart, I feel like, and when we're ego-based, we're copying someone else pretty much, or taking credit for something that might not be ours.
Sure.
I love that. And I think that is, we're all here to be creative, aren't we? In our own way, whatever way that is, whatever that shows up to be, whatever our unique gift is that we were given. It always reminds me of it's a Pablo Picasso quote, I think, which is, the meaning of life is to find your gift and the purpose of life is to give it away. I think that kind of, just when you were talking about originality being the cornerstone of creativity, I think it is about that thing. It's about digging in, isn't it? And finding what is your original gift. And then how do you have the courage to share that with others?
Right. In fact, just sharing it freely. Like I remembered when I was in high school, I was very good at public speaking, and as I was preparing for this program today, I think throughout the week, rather, it has been amazing for me to remember the kind of leadership skills I had when I was elected as the school captain, and now over the years I've been able to participate in different communities, share original quotes. I would share write up and do that on different social media handles, and people just wonder, hey George, this is so powerful. How do I also go deep into this?
George, I think there's so many topics we could discuss with you, and I know we're at the end of our time. We're just getting started, so I hope that you'll come back and share with us again. And I want to thank you for providing the information, the education that you did today, because that is probably new information for a lot of people here. And I know yesterday was Happy Africa Day, and there's a lot of focus on Africa now. We want to be part of that as well, to bring awareness, education, inspiration, and hope.
Thank you so much, and happy Memorial Day. I shared a quote about Memorial Day. That is also a time to think about how to empower communities, especially those who are disenfranchised because of gender, because of age, or because of economic status.
Thank you very much for sharing that. And I hope, George, that you and KIM-ADELE will connect, and you'll be on KIM-ADELE's other platform. And I'd like to just leave people with this, that wherever you live, whoever you are, you matter. You're important. Sure. And people like George, people like KIM-ADELE, they're here to help you. And they're here today. You can reach out to them. So we have George's contact information as well as KIM-ADELE's. It's in the promo for the show. It's also in the comments, the notes for the show. So go over to their social media platforms and connect with them. Let them know that you watch the show and that you want to work with them. You want to know them. And that's all I can say is they're here. They want to help. Take that first step. Thank you, George, very much. Thank you, KIM-ADELE. KIM-ADELE, how can people get in touch with you?
Of course. So if anyone wants to get in touch with me, you can get me really easily at KIM-ADELE@AuthenticAchievements.com, which is my new email address. Or you can get me at Kim@KIM-ADELE.RANDALL.com. Both of those still work. Or you can find me on social media, mainly as KIM-ADELE10. But reach out. I'd love to hear your story. And see how we can either share it like we've done today with George's and elevate that, help other people to hear and be able to get involved and get behind it. or help on a more individual level if you've just got something that you want help with getting out of your own way.
Thank you, Kim-ADELE. And George, I'm going to spotlight you for final comments. What would you like to leave the audience with today?
Good. Just celebrating. Thank you, of course, first and foremost, for the opportunity to enable me meet Kim-ADELE, to meet you. And my greatest word to everyone: do not look down upon yourself. You're unique, and go out there, continue doing what you're doing. As we say, you might fall several times, but when you fall, don't remain where you're fallen. There is always a new dawn and a new day to do things differently. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here today. And please do come back and see us again.
Absolutely.
Sure.
All right, everyone. Our next show is coming up. It's The Power of Etiquette and Manners with the British School of Excellence and Mr. Philip Sykes. We'll be right back. Bye for now.
Happy Memorial Weekend, everyone.
Thank you. Happy Memorial.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.